And I'm back. So I almost let a terrible player ruin my deep love for a game system. It's certainly not Dungeons and Dragons. The system itself is bad enough at that. No, I have been playing this game since 2004, 2005-ish. I own every edition that has ever been produced. Really enjoy the company that produces it. And I myself am legally licensed to produce material for that. I have some material that's already out for it, and I am currently re-engaging. And my business partner has convinced me that I need to work on the things that hold my passion. And Rich is correct, and I know he'll watch this. Um, but yeah, it was unfortunate. I walked away from a game system because I was letting a terrible player, just a munchkiny little turd, really ruin like decades of enjoyment and fun. It was like this one person had peeled back, some of the they're not really flaws, but it's just how the game runs and plays, and I was allowing someone who had just min-maxed their way through stuff, which I abhor anyway, and I was just said I'll just turn my attention to a little more rules light systems. I do enjoy those. I still love running Dungeon World. I still think it's the better edition of Dungeons and Dragons. You will never convince me that it's not, simply because I can just throw things out as the dungeon master or the GM, and I can watch players respond, and I can respond off of that, and I can let them go in the directions they want, and we don't have to have mechanics get in the way of it. That requires creative players. If that makes you upset, like, like, subscribe, unlike, comment below. Let me know. I'm sorry. It's just the reality of it. Most games do not require you to be a creative player. They just don't. Um, this isn't about that. This is about being wrong and being able to kind of get over what I thought were inadequacies and walk back into the fold of a game and a system and even a company and the folks that surround all of this, uh, that I really enjoy and hold dear to my heart. And of course, that is this. So yeah. Um, I did, and this isn't about me having a redemption arc or anything. I do like the system. I think it plays well. I've been going through it, and I've started work on a project. It's called Myth America, Mythomer, uh, ICA. Jesus Christ, Myth America. It's easier to type it than it is to actually, I guess, spell it out. But as I'm going through that and realized that when Richard White tapped out, sending me the text, and was like he was correct. I do really thoroughly love the system. It still is one of the best playing systems on earth. But I did the one thing that I never thought I would ever do, and that's I let someone get to me. And it wasn't over one game. I had this player in multiple genres in multiple games, and they just couldn't turn off the desire to win, which I abhor in these games. If they're the kind of player and you're the kind of person who thinks that it's okay to min max and all jazz, awesome. That's between you and whoever you play with. Normally, it's super annoying to other players, but we let it continue, because it's not like it's a distraction at the table. It's just irritatingly frustrating at the table. And it's not frustrating because they're winning on my bad guys. I'm the game master. If I want to destroy your PCs, I I don't need anything other than to just to do it. Every GM knows that. We don't need special permission. No character you build is going to stop that. Um, so just take that to heart, I guess, when you're trying to munchkin your way through winning Dungeons and Dragons, and it was advanced. You're not going to do it. It's just if whatever makes you feel good about that. That's what it is. Um, it's defining the loopholes, but I allowed that to get to under my skin, and it kind of forced me to take a step back. I'm glad it happened, um, but this is really about for those GMs out there, and it's that are going through this. Because I know I see the comments, I see some of the videos, and there are a lot of folks who feel this way. And it really is a difficult situation to feel that and to know it's happening, but it's not like they're disruptive, they're being weird wackadoos and saying inappropriate things. They're just picking up edges and they're countering with hindrances that they don't really care about. And it's how they play their characters. And it's just like, okay, and part of me is I have some empathy for this because a lot of the folks who do this have nothing else going on in their lives. Again, if you feel some kind of way about it, type down below and let me know how wrong it is. I'm just telling you, it's my experience, is that the higher the caliber and the higher the threat vector of I have to cheat my way through a game. I build a character. Well, you're building a character to do something. So you're building the character to win at the genre or whatever the game it is. There's usually a correlating side of the house of that they probably don't have a lot going on. Or they're just got a chip on their shoulder, need to prove a point. I've seen that too, especially like think like Pathfinder was really big on that one for some reason when the game first came out. The Munchkins from third edition slid, had kind of slid over and wanted to prove they were smart and everybody at the table. Much to the chagrin of it, just enjoying the adventures. But again, it's just sort of this. This is it's refreshing to be able to know that I do love a game system and I can come back to it. I'm actively engaged with it. I'm engaging with the community. It wasn't like I shit on the community or anything. That was the furthest thing from reality and from my mind. I still respect them. I respect all the designers. I like all the folks that do it. The influx of new people into Savage World is always bittersweet. Like they're all coming with the same level of sincerity and eagerness, and they love the game, which is always good to see. But it's like they ask the same questions that we've been seeing for 20 years now, and it's not just the questions; it's the approach. I don't like how the weapon skills are done. There should be a skill for every weapon, and it's just lather, rinse, repeat kind of thing. But it's no longer really frustrating. No one really comes on. It's a really good community, actually. You should join up on that if you're interested in Savage Worlds. No, this is again, it's more about like talking to those other GMs who are out there. Um, if you feel frustrated by someone who does this, it's I don't know. Normally, I'd say it's have a talk, but it's not like you need to have a talk about super inappropriate behavior. It's a play style that I disagree with and that I feel somewhat. I don't know, somewhat, like I said, empathetic to it. I get it. I 100% think it's the dumbest play style ever. But I didn't grow up with that play style. I've never played that way. And so I just don't really understand that desire to do things like that. And they're out there and they're out there. And like I said, sometimes it's not malicious. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it can be malicious, but some of the times it's just I just want to have this cool character concept, and I want to make sure that character can do like all the things to some degree and never be threatened or put in harm's way, and things like that. And so sometimes it's just that innocent track of like maybe a misunderstanding of the core concept of the game. And this isn't a board game where it's a competitive factor. Um, this is where it gets a little frustrating. And then for the malicious types. Normally that coincides with a lot of arguing about the rules and trying to get pedantic about the rules and the interpretations when necessary. A lot of the modern games, especially Savage Worlds, there's still some gray area with things, but normally you don't see that gray area too much in Savage Worlds, especially the Suede. Um, but if you have that, do I have advice? I don't know. You might make your feelings known. If it's not a malicious person, you might just be able to say at the beginning, hey, I just let's not do, builds. Let's talk about character concept. Let's talk about the setting. Let's talk about, kind of how you want to interact with it, and that we can help inform it. And then during the character creation processes, you know, you really you can ask questions about why they're taking things, or you might, if you're long in the tooth, like me and a few others, you 100% know why people are taking the things they're taking. And at that point, it's just you need to decide, is the player better in or out of the group? A lot of folks play with people they know, or at least they're, some semblance of friendship with, and so that can make things a little bit difficult. Maliciously, yeah, I haven't had the malicious one. Well, that's not true. I had one malicious one, and he was virtually escorted out of the game. It was an all digital game anyway, and we did just hang up and change the date and time of the game and hide from him. That's the coward's way out. It was just, we had a disagreement about my application of bennies. If you've ever seen me run Savage Worlds, either in person or on the air, you know that I throw bennies out like they're like it's cotton candy in a fairyland, and I will get you to spend those bennies as a player. So it's this full water wheel of fun. He just didn't understand that, and so it was easy to get rid of him, and he was doing everything he can to make his character more powerful than everyone else in the group, and that's what I think bothers me the most. It isn't again, you're not going to win against me. I'm a game master. I could destroy your character in one single encounter or one trap or one anything else that just makes life miserable for you. If you want full reciprocity on this, yeah, it can be done. But it comes down to it's what you're doing to the group cohesion and their characters because most of the players aren't going to build these characters. They're going to create a character and they're going to want to play and have fun and they're going to understand, hey, there's hindrances and I'm going to play to these hindrances, and if you play with me, I'm going to eke those hindrances out of you by offering up bennies to really get you to role play those are the worst possible moments when it really matters to what's going on at the table, and when it matters what becomes the difference between doing the right thing and doing you know what you want to do in order to win. So it's not an issue with that, but it's those are good players. It's the people who, when you build a character and you're trying to win the game, you're trying to do things. You're filling all the roles and you are just going overboard with it. You are getting in the way of your fellow players at the table. And you can see it sometimes. There are people and they'll talk about it or they'll make jokes and little quips and things like that. So just how you handle it, I don't know. Don't take a coward's way out. Don't just change the name, the date and time and location of the game online or in person or whatever. That is a coward's way out. Now, if you have really terrible people, this is all about people who are just hyper nerds and just game mastery is important. I'm not talking about real sick people who are in legitimate dangers. This is this is just me being a little whiny about players who want to win. If you got other danger problems, you need to handle that appropriately and as legally as you can, and get down to it. But yeah, for the most part, don't take a coward's way out. I don't know. You can just tell me I don't. Can you please not do this? I should have done that, but we ended the. I ended the last game abruptly, and I think it was a fantasy game. I don't really remember. I think it was a fantasy game, and it was just real frustrating because everyone else was we were still having a great time, but you could just see where it was just like, oh my God, over and over again, dude just kept sliding around on other people's toes and rolls, and it was becoming super frustrating, and it made me just start to really question, like, holy God, have I been, have I had the, rose-colored glasses placed over my eyes on this system? And the answer is no, not really. Yeah, that will always be there. I get it. There'll be people like that, but I think I'm more cautious now and I'm gonna be a little more guarded and a little more willing to just be honest in the beginning when someone starts doing these wackadoo bills and be able to tell them like, hey, I really don't want this at the table. Like, I need you to tone it down a little bit, or even ask like, hey, what are you trying to do with this? Are you really trying to do all the things and be the spotlight, the main person, the superhero, or are you really trying to fit in and find your niche and your role amongst your party? And that may be a better conversation starter for folks. But yeah, for Thieves Guild Games, we are definitely still producing for Savage Worlds. In fact, Rich is got his setting all done. It is called Forlorn Sea, and it is ironically not about the sea, sort of. Anyway, we'll let Rich talk about that at some point. Very cool setting. Um, that will be probably coming out here very soon. I mean, it is done. He's just fine tuning a few things, but he's got full custom art, full custom maps, icons, all these things, and so that's gonna be good to go. And then I have another deck of cards. It's not action. It's not an action deck, so it's not going to be a poker deck. But it is a very cool deck of cards that I think GMs and players will love. The GMs will love it because it gives you a chance to really explore the growth of your NPCs, and for the players, it'll give you a chance to sit back and just appreciate, like, oh, okay, okay, we're, we've entered a different level of play with these NPCs now. um, that will be that's a relatively quick project. I have it all done. I just need to get it laid out, which laying out deck of cards is a terror. It's just it's so boring. It's That's the only word I can describe. It's so boring. You get all the things done and you just got to put all everything into it, make sure everything matches up and lines up. But it's pretty cool. I've got the graphics are all done and all that jazz. And then I'm working on, like I said, Myth America. I will be running a demo version of that at Mythic Con in November down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I'm going to be doing some supplemental work for Task Force Raven, which I know people are excited about. I've been talking about it. I've got everything done up in the layouts for the one sheets. The one sheets is what Pinnacle calls them. These would be like mission ops, like quick deployments, like little QRF missions that we talked about in the original book and didn't do it. And then I'm going to be pulling in and redo and doing some more longer form like macro campaigns, like we did for Operation Bellhammer, which is essentially, you take your team and you're fighting a vampire countess in the middle of her territory. Uh, that should sound really familiar to everyone who's probably ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons in Fifth Edition. But yes, uh, that's exactly how Task Force Raven got its start, actually. So that's kind of where we are. But again, yeah, thanks for sticking around for me at this far. Like, subscribe, everything helps. Comment below, again about kind of what I was talking about. I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on if you've encountered this, if you're this kind of player and you don't understand the problem, or if you think there's no problem whatsoever from a player or game master perspective. Yeah, it's everything is it's a cool conversation because I know this is a topic that really irritates the living crap out of me, and Rich was right. I have to stop because I miss Savage Worlds, and it's good to be back. Thanks for watching.